We create so many artificial constructs on our life that create pressure. And what I found is when I was trying to do too many things, I wasn't doing nearly enough effective, and I was exhausted. By actually narrowing down what I'm doing, I get more quality of work done that is more impactful with the things that only I can do.
Yeah.
Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions. Today's topic is business. We're finding businesses are really having difficulty right now amidst just economic chaos. And a lot of businesses are going to temporarily shut their doors in hopes to just weather the storm and come back out. But the Small Business Administration says 25% of the people that temporarily close will never open again. Well, I want to be an advocate to help them make it through. And so the questions that came in on Ask the Money Nerds today, they were really around business. And I've got Aaron Anderson, president of Wealth Labs, here to ask those questions.
How's it going?
Good.
So you often talk about A players. Mm-hmm. So what if there aren't any A players available? And how do you find and hire good people?
Now is the time we're going to find a lot more A players. There's a lot of A players that if a business goes into scarcity or if a business stops focusing on value and then they get decimated by this news or this virus, more A players are going to be looking for opportunity. Before it was hard. We were overemployed almost, right? Almost everyone had a job, so it was hard to recruit. People were demanding more. They're doing less. And so last time, from 2008 to 2010, when we had a recession, like you got to actually hire people that were unhireable before. Yeah. There was way more people in the market that were available. So if you want to attract A players, there's a book called The Wizard of Ads written by Roy Williams, who's one of my kind of mentors. I've been to many of his courses. I'm the dean of finance for his academy, put together called Wizard Academy. And he has a passage of how to write ads for A-teamers. And it's you write very specifically to the person that you want. What do you want? Well, like, what are you looking to remove? Like, I just start with, here's what we're looking for. Like if it was a sales position, I might say, are you used to giving people advice with money? Are you used to making a lot of money? Do people look to you in order to solve problems, right? And then I might say, this is what I'm not looking for. And then you actually repel the wrong people away and then say, there's no need to apply if X, Y, and Z. So like you actually become a lot more divisive in that ad where some people are like, dude, screw this guy. But then other people are like, I feel like this is written to me.
Yeah.
So you get way more specific, right? And having a compelling vision for your business is one of the most attractive things that you could ever create for hiring. Having the book Killing Sacred Cows, having a vision to liberate 1 million people so they're economically independent, change their family's financial future, and overall the destiny for that family is very enticing for a lot of people, right? And they're going, I'd like to be part of the team. I like the culture here. I like the environment here. So you create the type of company that can recruit. Then you write ads very specifically to those people. If we look at Shackleton, right, the guy that took people to Antarctica, he had like 4,700 or 5,200 people apply from an ad that he wrote saying that you're unlikely to return.
Yeah.
But people were so compelled by the words he wrote. Words influence. What are you writing? Are you writing a boring ad that doesn't speak directly to the person? Like Roy Williams talked about hiring a writer, and he goes, do you have boxes in your closet of writings and musings? Have you been writing the great American? He writes to the point where people are like, how does he know? And they're like, or they go, oh, John, this is John's job. And then someone else reads it and forwards it. That's what you've got to do. And then you go to your key relationships. And your key relationships, instead of saying, hey, I'm hiring, instead say, who do you know that's a rock star at X, Y, and Z? I'd love to be introduced. And then you're actually learning from that person, but you might also have a chance to recruit them.
This is a good time to talk about too, is like, we see this from time to time about referrals, like people reaching out like, hey, do you know anybody that's really good at this position?
Right.
Like how valuable is using your resources for that too?
Absolutely. Like I go to Rich Christensen all the time. Rich is someone that, he's sold 19 businesses now. He's a huge proponent of our work. So I call him all the time, right? He's also local. So there's things that we can do that way to get referrals and introductions. He introduced 3 different people to me when we were looking for a COO.
Yeah.
I mean, so who are your centers of influence?
That's awesome.
All right.
Tell me, how much more valuable is an A player than a B player?
IBM said it was 5,200% more productive. Steve Jobs said you get a 99-to-1 return on an A player, and he didn't want anything but. I mean, it's maybe the biggest advantage a business can ever have. Because in A players, it doesn't occupy real estate in your mind, worrying about whether something's getting done or having to micromanage, or, you know, like I remember going off to the British Virgin Islands in the middle of one of our workshops, and I had someone assigned to speak at a time, and they came at the wrong time, but I have an A-teamer and my chairman, Norm. So Norm just stood up, spoke, didn't even bother me with it. Just a problem solver. Just get it handled.
Yeah. We see this sometimes. People want A players on their team, but they don't want to pay for them.
Right. And the thing is, if it's 5,200% more productive or a 99-to-1 return, what if you paid 50% more for that person? 50% more. I remember the first time I won an ABC, it's a good money program. And it was during 2008, the economy started to turn, and I said, hey, first, stop funding your retirement account. Second, give your very best employee a raise. Give them a raise to say, I know we're going through a tough time, but I value you more than I value some retirement plan. And, you know, and it was just like a sign of abundance. And I said, and now's the time to recruit. Now's the time to find the talent. Now's the time to invest in your business when everybody else is scared, because you can gain massive amounts of market share and advance and create a lot more value.
So likewise, when you said this is a great time to go out and find A players, if you have A players on your team,
better take care of them. Like, you know, we're navigating this new one-man show.
Yeah.
We're speaking a lot less because of everything with the coronavirus and those types of things. So, you know, Chief of Staff Stolba, I went to her and I said, hey, please bring to my attention, because a lot of your compensation is based upon those things. Yeah. If this isn't working for you, I want to know. I want to have that conversation. I'm mindful of that. You and I have had these conversations where you're like, hey, man, I'm in it for a bigger game, and I see where we're going. And yeah, a lot of these things are getting moved. But what do? You and I strategized. More podcasts, more webinars, be a guest on more people to help them deal and their tribe deal with everything that's going on. So we strategized, didn't just complain.
Well, and this is a bit off topic, but this is like what I think is so cool is like I don't like calling it troubling times, but we're in confusing times right now.
For sure.
And all of our conversations really have been, how can we bring more value to people versus like, how can we make money off of this situation?
Right. Because I feel like we can build so much value and so much connection if we're truly leading people. This is not the time to peddle with fear. It's the time to show them practically what they could do. Now, I know we have another question here on the business side.
Yeah, I'm just so busy. It feels like my business is running me. How do I better organize and create more time for what's important?
All right, at the end of every day, look at your calendar and say, what did I do that I didn't need to do at all? What did I do that drained my energy? What did I do that was neutral? And what did I do that actually gained energy or momentum? Every day, look at your calendar and ask that. Second thing, how many things are you doing that aren't that profitable that you invented at one time that need to be done that don't need to be done that bad? Get it down to 3 to 5 initiatives or objectives at a time.
Yeah.
Per quarter, no more. If you go beyond that, you destroy bandwidth. You become too busy. And so I just had this conversation with my wife last night, which was, you know, she's like, how do I manage all these things that we're dealing with right now? And I'm like, well, you got to avoid escapisms, right? Organizing and cleaning the house isn't necessary. Like, if it gets a little bit messy, fine. You know, maybe cut back on the meditation temporarily because you're spending a lot of time. Like, it's addressing like where we get to the point where we're not dealing with pain, we're not dealing with what's going on, and we get into these routines that aren't helpful.
Yeah.
So for me, I wasn't practicing my one-man show as much. So I'm like, okay, guys, you got to come watch me do this.
Yeah.
It's now in the schedule, right? Because then I might be like, well, I got to work on this or that or whatever. And so I think it's really important to create accountability. And it's really important to let go of certain things and add more of what's most important. So if I'm not speaking, writing, creating some level of content, whether that's for a book or for a video where I'm filming, if I'm not developing high-level relationships or I'm not on somebody's podcast or webinar, I'm not doing the things that need to be done. Everything else has to be delegated at this point. And if we don't delegate that, it's going to crowd out our life. So I think it's getting an outside perspective because sometimes people think something needs to be done, but it doesn't.
Yeah, let's elaborate more on because we do this with what it's doing now, not doing it all. Like elaborate more on how we go through that process.
So doing now means things live in your calendar in the next 2 weeks with beginning and end times. Not doing now means it's happening after 2 weeks, so it lives on a list that could be put into the calendar later on. And then never doing is maybe it sounded good for a moment, but it doesn't actually matter right now, so we eliminate it. Or the parking lot. The parking lot is where I put a lot of things that seem like great ideas, that seem super exciting. And then I go, oh, wait, that didn't really need to be done. We create so many artificial constructs on our life that create pressure. And what I found is when I was trying to do too many things, I wasn't doing nearly enough effective, and I was exhausted. By actually narrowing down what I'm doing, I get more quality of work done that is more impactful with the things that only I can do.
Yeah. And especially now, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of opportunity, but on the back end of this, we know that there is. Talk a bit about the saying no to more than you're saying yes.
Yeah, it's really, easy to say yes, because especially if you're like me and you've been a people pleaser before, it's hard to say no. But I'll say stuff like, I have a wonderful client that has a promotion coming up, and he's like, hey, can you promote this? I'm like, well, it's not really what we do. And he's like, but everybody needs this. I'm like, they might, but I'm a financial firm, and this isn't a financial thing. And, and it's hard to say no. And I'm like, but if I know a bunch of people in your field in the health space, I'd be happy to connect you to them. Right? So I can make a connection versus create an obligation that's going to create more work for me. So that's a big piece. And then, like I've been using a productivity planner. UJ, he was part of the one that put it together. And I've been doing that day by day right now just to get really clear. What am I doing with the one-man show? What am I doing with the YouTube videos? What am I doing with responses to YouTube comments? And what am I doing with, like what else was on that list this week? Like I've been so much more productive by saying, okay, 3 big things today if I could focus on. If I have time, maybe a 4th or 5th, but the 4th or 5th I don't feel pressure with. I'm not going to exhaust myself. I'm not going to push myself beyond, just push through and get adrenal fatigue and put myself at risk with my health. I'm going to go, okay, here's the big 3. And there's time and space that we can create on our calendar. There's things that we can shorten meetings. We can reduce the frequency of certain meetings. We can become more strategic with our days, where I can pack a lot of meetings in on Monday, which frees up time on Tuesday to write. Totally. Like it's time to get really deliberate.
Yeah. And like we're talking about this right now. Like there's no sports right now. There's not a lot of things for us to distract, but
coronavirus is very distracting for people.
But we're talking about like, let's kind of sum up with like, let's put a positive spin on this, because there's kind of a unique opportunity to get caught up and get ahead on some of the things.
To address the things that we haven't been addressing that now have urgency that didn't before. They were plenty important, but now they're more urgent. So that's the deal right there. We've talked about everything from looking at your calendar every day to see what could be removed. Where can you eliminate escapisms that are kind of preventing you from doing things that you want to do most? Don't do more than 3 to 5 things within your business. Otherwise, you can get sucked in to doing too much, and then you lose your bandwidth. How to find A players by writing the right types of ads and looking with your centers of influence that can make referrals and you can introduce to great people. And that now is the time more than ever that these types of things are going to be available, and more important, because a lot of people are going to be wasting time with fear and with worry instead of going into action with the things that they have control over.